Hello!
Hello!
Welcome to Hot Apocalypse. Gosh, Josh, it sure is chilly.
I know, it's freezing cold. There's like snow coming down.
Absolutely the most animated snow I've seen fall in Los Angeles my entire time here. It's amazing.
It's amazing. It's the Polar Vortex, Andy.
But Josh, why do we got this backdrop? This is a show about Venezuela.
Oh no, it's a show about the Polar Vortex,
It's
man.
a show about Venezuela.
The Polar Vortex is freezing everyone all across America.
You guys, this is a show about Venezuela, what's happening down there. It's a show about the polar vortex and its connection to climate. It's a show about how we're all gonna die.
We're all gonna die.
Hot Apocalypse.
He's a comic who's chronically depressed and thinks we're doomed. He's a renowned climate scientist who crunched the numbers and knows we're doomed. Together, they're hoping to have a good time till it's over and tell you, we're all gonna die, we're all gonna die, we're all gonna die. Hot Apocalypse.
Welcome back to Hot Apocalypse, guys.
Yeah, it's good to be here, Andy.
Josh,
Man.
it's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
You know, Josh and I get together every week and we talk about the reasons why we're all totally screwed. We have a drink of some kind that's appropriate and toast our imminent demise.
Yeah, today we're drinking ice in solidarity with all the folks freezing all across the United States. Cheers, Andy.
Indeed, indeed. You know, Josh, I'm not a climate scientist like yourself, and I got no fancy degrees or job with NASA or my own satellites, but I believe that ice is technically frozen water.
It is totally frozen water. It's hard to drink, and this is what happens to water when it gets too cold.
It sure does. It sure does. And you know, I guess my feeling is like this polar vortex. It's indicative of a larger issue. Is that correct?
It is. You know, the polar vortex is the name for the thing that goes around the top of the Earth, the winds that circle the top of the Earth, and whenever they get weak, then the winds kind of veer around like a drunken sailor, and they bring huge amounts of cold air down from the north and warm air up.
Please refer to it as a drunken comic from now on, because that is the standard by which I'm used to being judged.
My bad.
And that's a great teaser, because we're going to kind of dig into the science of that, which you know very well. And but before we get to that, there's a huge, massive crisis going on in one of our near neighbors, Venezuela. Now, Josh, you're not an expert on Venezuela.
I don't know anything about Venezuela.
I know literally jack squat about any place that's outside of the U.S. borders. So we brought in a very brilliant expert who's going to help us understand these things.
Yeah, let's talk to Alex.
This is Alex Cequea, and Alex is our friend. Alex, you're in Mexico right now, correct?
Yes, I am currently in Mexico, in a beach town, and watching the situation in Venezuela and the United States. So it's a nice in-between place that I'm in right now.
A nice sort of point of the tripod, right? Yeah. And you're actually a native of Venezuela, correct?
Yes, my entire family's from Venezuela. I still have a lot of family there. Some of them have flown to Argentina and Colombia and Peru. A lot of them are in the United States as well. But my entire childhood, I grew up in Venezuela, in the Andes, in the mountains, and also in the area where they have a lot of oil.
Okay. Well, that seems to be a significant chunk of why there's so much intrigue in Venezuela right now is the oil.
Yes.
But Alex, perhaps we can start with something like this: as a progressive, as a liberal, as someone on the left side of things, I try and figure out what's going on in Venezuela and what my take should be. I have no idea.
Yeah. What are we thinking? What's happening, first of all?
Yeah, so the thing with Venezuela is kind of complicated, and especially as a progressive, you know, I'm very liberal, and I guess it helps to explain the whole situation if you stop kind of looking at it from left and right for a minute and just think of the situation in Venezuela as a struggle between democracy and fascism. And so it requires a little bit of context on kind of the history of what's happened in the last few years. The reason why a lot of left-leaning people are kind of confused is because of the rise of Chavez in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was going to be a lot of socialist programs that were going to benefit the poor. and kind of lift the lower aspect of Venezuela, a lot of that was seen as very positive, but over time, the systemic corruption was never addressed in Venezuela, and ultimately, systemic corruption can ruin any system, including capitalism, any system will get ruined by systemic corruption. And so
Now,
it's
Alex,
easier to
that
look
could
at what's
surely
happening
never happen
in
here in the
Venezuela
United
through that
States.
lens.
That's outrageous. Outrageous.
Yes, surely there's no parallels between a populist president being brought in to try to get the government to actually represent the people because the people feel disenfranchised by their leaders.
So that's great. And you kind of broke my American brain when you said think beyond left and right. I'm still reeling from that.
I know. That's such a weird thing to do. I mean, this is kind of about just power, right? The exertion of power and lack of a voice for common people, right?
Yeah. So the current situation, what happened, and I'll just give you sort of the super quick like Cliff Notes version. About in 2012, so about 7 years ago, when Chavez died, he died right after a national election that he won by a very small margin. And it was the smallest margin that he'd ever won an election. So people were already starting to defect from his support. And so after he dies, because he had just won an election and he hadn't started the new presidential term, according to Venezuelan constitution, a new election gets triggered. When a new election gets triggered, Maduro, who was Chavez's vice president, runs, and then he barely wins. He won with 50.5% of the vote. So already lower than Chavez's vote only a few months before that. So the presidential terms in Venezuela are about 6 years. So in those 6 years that Maduro was president, the economic situation in Venezuela worsened. The oil prices dropped, and Venezuela is very dependent on the oil price to fund a lot of social programs and a lot of just national programs. And so Maduro's support plummeted in that time. And so last year, Maduro ran for president again. Before the elections, his administration banned all major political opposition from holding any sort of political office. So either they banned people or they straight up just put them in jail. So the major political opposition could not even compete. He won, quote unquote, that election last year by a landslide with 68% of the vote. It was a record low turnout. And that is the election that a lot of Venezuelans, including international observers, say was a sham. And so what's happening now is that Maduro got inaugurated a couple of weeks ago, and the Venezuelan Congress declared that because that election was illegitimate, they tried to follow the Venezuelan constitution and said, well, the third person in line is actually the president, and that would be the president of the National Assembly, like Venezuelan's Congress, and is this gentleman, Guaido. And so Guaido got sworn in by the Venezuelan Congress as an interim president, and Guaido said that he would conduct or oversee open and fair elections. And so the situation now is that basically we have two presidents based on who you consider to be legitimate, but the military has continued to pledge their support for Maduro, the top of the military. There are a lot of reports that say the majority of the military do not support the administration, but the very top leaders still do, and they control most of the resources. And so the situation now is more like a civil war, with one side having all the firepower and the other side representing the large majority of Venezuelans. The latest report that I saw was something over 80% of Venezuelans want Maduro out. So it's a very complicated situation.
So if one were to choose a team that is the side of the people, it sounds like Maduro wouldn't be the team to root for.
No, absolutely not. Maduro is mainly concerned with maintaining power, and everything that he has done in the last few years has been for that purpose. That he stripped Congress of all of its power and just created a parallel Congress with hand-picked people to run the country. I mean, putting up political opponents in jail. I mean, it goes on and on. Like they really are just desperately trying to hold on to power because they know that people are not on their side.
Alex, you once again just broke my American brain because I believe the Trump administration has taken a side against Maduro, effectively putting the Trump administration on the right side of history? In this one?
Yeah, this is probably the one occasion where I agree with the Trump administration. He's doing the right thing. And to be fair, most of South America has also recognized Guaido as the legitimate president. The EU has also recognized Guaido as the legitimate president. Canada, individual countries around the world have recognized Guaido, and countries that can be considered to be socialist or left-leaning are also recognizing Guaido as the legitimate president because they see that this is basically an authoritarian regime. Maduro's regime
honesty, it
is just trying to maintain power.
Easy call for Trump, right? I mean,
we don't want to give him too much.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of left-leaning people are saying, "Oh, this is a U.S.-backed coup," but honestly, we know that Trump and his administration can't find a way out of a paper bag. They would not be able to do something like this. If anything, they're just being opportunistic. And so it's just simply they just happen to get it right at this point.
Wow. What a fascinating perspective, Alex. And first of all, thank you, because I honestly am learning everything that I know about the situation in Venezuela. I just learned in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah. It was amazing. Thank you.
And let me ask both Josh and Alex, just to tie it into some of our other themes, is oil, climate, energy, that sort of aspect of where Venezuela fits in, how does that connect to this dynamic? Is oil part of what's going on here? Is climate?
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, of course, Venezuela has the largest proven oil reserves in the world. Oil is very important for the economy there, but it's also kind of at the epicenter of climate change because, in the tropics, that's really where the Earth is already really hot. It's getting hotter. And in the sort of northern part of South America, rainfall is incredibly important. And changes to the patterns of rainfall could have really huge consequences there.
Wow. And certainly that might contribute to the flow. There's such an enormous refugee crisis and humanitarian crisis south of the border and across, largely of the American creation. But it seems like this would potentially add to all that.
Absolutely. Climate change is one of the leading causes of people fleeing where they are. I mean, it drives lack of resources. It sometimes literally is, in some cases, forcing people out of places because you can't live there anymore. And so it's definitely exacerbating the migration of people, and so people are definitely moving because of climate change.
And Alex, you mentioned that some of your relatives have left Venezuela recently. Is that connected to the disruption in the political process down there, or is that just for personal reasons?
No, definitely the lack of stability in the country has led a lot of people to leave, seeking better opportunities in neighboring countries. Colombia alone has taken in over 1 million refugees from Venezuela.
Wow.
And partly that has to do because in the 1980s, when Colombia was having a very rough economic time, a lot of Colombians went to Venezuela. And so they always remember that and are kind of paying paying back the goodwill. But I have family that has gone to Argentina, that has gone to Peru, all over South America.
Fascinating. Alex, this is so helpful, and we really appreciate your video making, your activism, and most of all, your appearance here today, because this helped us out a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I had no idea what was going on.
And Alex, peep this, we actually have a sponsor. It's kind of a surprising one, given what we just said. But
We have a sponsor?
we have a sponsor, very exciting. An iced toast to our new sponsor.
Cheers.
Thank you, Alex.
Are you trapped in a job you hate? Tired of long hours, harsh conditions, and work that's intrinsically evil? Maybe it's time to quit that ICE job and find work doing literally anything else. ICE was established in 2003. Since then, employees complain of high blood pressure, back strain, and if there is a hell, knowing they'll burn in flames for all eternity for what they have done. ICE agents are subject to unfair criticism. People say they prostitute themselves for a racist administration. That is not fair. Prostitutes provide a service. ICE is breaking up families, abusing women, ripping up communities in the Constitution. It's rife with abuse, graft, and violence. And some, I assume, are good people. To those people, we say, stop doing that. Go to this real, actual website where real, actual lawyers will give you a one-way ticket to the right side of history. Choo-choo, motherfuckers, let's go. Before someone starts putting y'all in cages like you were children or something. If you work at ICE, it's time to skate.
How about it?
Wow.
Bold stance. By the way, if any ICE employee wants to quit, come on our show.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you quit on our show.
Come talk to us. Yeah.
We'll do it in public on Being Liberal webpage, which I'm sure your bosses will love.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Josh, I think we've had about an accumulation of maybe 4 to 5 inches of fake snow back here.
I'm about ready to build a snowman.
Yeah, fake snowman, absolutely. What better thing to do in LA than build a fake human being?
Yes, because we need more of them. It's the Polar Vortex, Andy.
What the hell is that, Josh?
The Polar Vortex has been in the news more than like the Kardashians this week.
Absolutely, thank
amazing.
God.
Yeah. The Polar Vortex is a giant ring of wind that goes around the North Pole, and it
where Santa lives.
Right, where Santa lives. It kind of keeps all the cold air up there, and it's there because the tropics or the lower latitudes are warm. The pole is really cold. The air tries to go from warm to cold, and then the rotation of the Earth makes it spin around. It's physics, Andy. It's physics. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take your science word for it, Poindexter. Sure.
But sometimes the polar vortex kind of goes haywire, and when it does that, it weaves around like a drunken sailor.
Comic.
Drunken comic. It weaves around like a drunken comic, and it brings cold air out of the north. Often at the same time, it's taking warm air into the north. So, for example, when we're getting dumped on with snow, sometimes like Greenland is melting in February because the polar vortex is rearranging hot and cold.
I see. So it sounds like this is part of whereas some people like our idiot president seem to think that this contradicts the idea of climate change. It actually reinforces the idea that the climate is shifting.
It is shifting, and in fact, the polar vortex, there's some evidence right now that the polar vortex is being affected by global warming, because when the Earth warms up, the Arctic, the North Pole, warms up faster than everywhere else. And a warm North Pole can, it's like, giving tequila to a comedian, it makes the polar vortex wander. And it weaves in and out. So the warmer Arctic actually may be causing the increases in these big stormy events that dump snow on us for a week or so.
Yeah, fascinating. By the way, you should give comics tequila at every chance you get.
It's like they live on it.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
It's like it's water for us. And so I'm from. I spent a lot of my developing years in Chicago. I say it like I'm from Chicago. No, I love Chicago, and Chicago had a rough week, man.
Man, they got hosed. If you live in Chicago, I hope you have an electric blanket and lots of coffee, because Chicago really got dumped on. This big excursion of the polar vortex pushed the jet stream south, and it just sucked all the cold air out of the North Pole. So, Santa was probably toasty, and Chicago Second city, they froze.
That's a shame. That's a shame. They need warmth. So, I guess that it seems like there's, so I've got, friends and family in Chicago, Detroit, Indianapolis, like all around the Midwest. They're all experiencing Santa weather due to climate change.
Yeah, right. Normally it's elves that have to deal with this stuff, and now it's Chicagoans. Yes, yeah.
No, that works.
Yeah.
Now let's see. I think we've got an audience comment that we're going to respond to. By the way, guys, leave your comments and questions in the comment section here on Being Liberal. We will address them, and you can either get a response from a genuine expert in topics like this, who's an actual paid expert, or you could get it from somebody who knows a lot of boner jokes. So
this guy's bits are great.
Let's see what we got here. Explain the increase of snow and ice at the Arctic. That's a good question.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Antarctic.
All right.
Antarctic. So there's some evidence that as the planet heats up, we know that as the planet heats up, as the air heats up, it holds more moisture. It holds like literally more water in the air. And so there's a suggestion that because the air holds more water, Antarctica will actually get more snow. And so there is a projection in the long term that Antarctica will actually get more snow. But it turns out that the melting around the edges is bigger than that, and Antarctica is actually losing ice. So it's a very common misperception. A lot of times people who think climate change is a bunch of hooey, they say, oh, well, the Antarctic is getting bigger,
right.
and Antarctica is getting bigger, but it's actually not. It's actually losing ice like gangbusters. It's causing sea level rise. And so definitely it's warming too.
Suck on that, Jim Inhofe. Okay, fantastic. So great question, by the way. It's a challenging one.
It was.
I thought you feel.
I was a little
well.
nervous. I was nervous.
Very exciting. Yeah. It's a very exciting moment for us. And in Australia, they're experiencing something very different right now. Right?
Yeah. Remember, even though it's winter here, in Australia, it's summer. So Australia is actually experiencing an incredibly severe heat wave right now. There are just record high temperatures all across Australia, and it's hot. And it's hotter than it would have been otherwise because global warming.
That's not a knife. This is a knife.
Yes.
So that's interesting. So Australia is experiencing kind of what we're going to be experiencing in about 6 months. Is their summertime and the brutal temperatures that the climate change is bringing us.
That's right. Apparently, it was so hot there. How hot was it?
Oh, how hot was it?
Come on, where's your comedian chops?
I forgot my role here.
So it was so hot that a man named Jim Beam, I don't know if he has any association with the whiskey. Anyway, he made an omelet on the sidewalk. He literally cooked an omelet on the pavement in Australia, and it looks really delicious.
Classic gag. I'm really. You have a shot of an omelet, which is helpful because I wish
that
we
was
knew what
his
those look
omelet.
like. Did a good job. Did a good job. Well, so the Australia is experiencing those extremes, and we're experiencing these extremes, and then our POTUS, I'd rather not say his name if I can avoid it, said, had a really brilliant insight.
The man in the White House.
The man in the White House.
Yeah.
He had a tweet that suggested in the beautiful Midwest, temperatures are reaching minus 60 degrees, the coldest ever recorded. In coming days, expected even colder. People can't last outside for even minutes. It's weird that he's celebrating that. What the hell is going on with global warming? Please come back fast. We need you. Can we break down why that's stupid very quickly?
Yeah, because guess what? Global warming's already here. And this winter that's happening in Chicago should really be happening to Santa. It should be at the North Pole.
Yeah.
And part of the reason it's not could be because of global warming. I mean, we know the Arctic is heating up really fast. The ocean up there sucks up all this heat in the summer. And then it starts to release it back in the winter. And that heat coming out of the ocean might be what's pushing the jet stream down and bringing winter to the middle of America, almost the entire. I mean, like it was a huge event. It was big.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, so in a huge surprise, we can disregard what the president has to say about science, but an actual some of your fellow deep state members, you NASA folks, you NOAA folks. I know you guys are all very deep state. Right. What they had a response to this, correct?
Yeah, actually, NOAA put out a great tweet that said winter storms don't prove that global warming isn't happening. And it's great because it links to some research that just happened where NOAA scientists looked at storms over the ocean, and they found that, guess what, when the ocean's hotter, the storms are more severe. So actually, worse storms are a symptom of global warming and not proof that it doesn't exist.
First of all, nice clap back from NOAA.
Right?
It's rare you see that sauciness from a government agency.
Definitely. I was excited about that.
NOAA? I don't even know. I believe we've got, if we have another comment, were we going to take a look at that real quick, Michael?
Yeah, do we have what are you guys thinking out there?
We're pulling up some comments as we go here. We're figuring out the tech as we go. Give us just a moment.
Yeah. Andy, I was thinking about this whole global warming thing recently, and because that's my job.
That's your thing. That's your whole shtick
all the time. But it's really amazing just how fast things are starting to happen. When I was in grad school some years ago, global warming was like a thing that was, we could measure it, but you couldn't walk outside and see it. And now it's almost like every week or every month there's a new headline that says, "Look, global warming is here."
And it must be weird as somebody who's very immersed in this topic to see this happen, see the things that you knew were going to happen start to happen.
Yeah,
that must be freaky.
In a sense, it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be a scientist because we're doing this big experiment with the whole planet. So if you ever wanted to tweak the knobs and go, I wonder what would happen if we added billions of tons of carbon to the atmosphere. We're finding out. So as a scientist, it's fun, but as a human, it's also a little scary,
a little disastrous. So great time for scientists. Terrible time for everybody else. Thanks, guys. Measure that data.
So.
What we're gonna die.
Yeah, so Andy, we're all mortal coils on this planet.
Boy, that is true, man.
Yeah,
that is true.
That means eventually we're all gonna die.
Let's find out why this week.
We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die.
Hotpocalypse.
So I love that graphic.
That's a fun one, right? So that's our intro for the reasons why we're all screwed this week.
We're doomed, people.
This is very topical. What's about to happen right now? Ripped from the headlines.
Yeah. What's up first, Andy?
Let's check it out. What do we have first? We've got some very important stuff about things. Robots.
Yeah.
Robots now are becoming self-aware on purpose. We're doing this.
Right.
Creating some self-aware robots. Now, as a scientist, this must be sort of a sticky wicket for you because we're advancing the field of knowledge, which is exciting.
Right.
But in potentially dangerous ways.
I've seen all the Terminator movies, Andy, and The Matrix like 3 times, it's a little scary, right? Because what are these things going to be able to do in the future? This robot arm, they woke it up, and it didn't know what it was. So it poked around and did all this stuff for a long time.
Same thing my baby daughter did.
Yeah, exactly, right? And then eventually it started to figure out that it was a robot arm, and then it started to figure out how it could move, and now they're training it to move chess pieces. And I hear pretty soon it's going to announce its candidacy for president.
Everyone else is running the dim. Why not? Join the fun, you guys.
Yeah.
I do think it's potentially exciting for people who like. I was going to make a hand job joke, but I'm going to wave this one off.
Wow.
I'm waving this one off.
all right.
But it is, a lot of my fear on this is based on ignorance. I just don't know that much about AI, so it's fear of ignorance, which one shouldn't operate from. But also, people as notable as Bill Gates, Elon Musk, who seem to know what they're talking about on these topics, have warned us that AI is potentially a hazardous technology.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of asking computers and machines to do things for themselves.
Yeah.
And, it's not necessarily a nefarious thing, like they're going to go, these people, they're not working for me. But in doing you set them to do a task, And if they're singularly focused on that one task, then maybe they don't really care about whatever else they destroy to get it done.
It's like my daughter, if I can distract her with like a rattle or something,
Yeah, right.
she'll let me change her diaper. Yeah. I get it. I know how this works. A lot of poop involved with robots. That's what I have to say.
So the second reason we're going to die,
Yes.
actually, Andy, is because once again Antarctica's in the news. Again, right?
Antarctica is filling up a lot of your time as a climate scientist.
It is. It's melting. There's enough ice in Antarctica to raise sea levels by almost 180 feet.
What?
Yeah, 180 feet.
Say it again?
Yes, 180 feet. It's a whole lot of ice. And what they found out is that the ice actually, they know that it kind of flows off the land and into the water. It literally sits right in the water. And what they found is that underneath this giant glacier called Thwaites is a cavity, sort of, a thing eroding away at the bottom side of the ice. And as more and more water gets in there, it can get unstuck and then start just dumping ice.
Like my daughter dumping dumps.
Exactly, right, just all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a little scary.
So this, is it Thwaites?
Thwaites.
This Thwaites section of Antarctica could potentially deteriorate further and potentially even break off, it sounds like.
That's right, yeah. I mean, it's a couple feet of sea level rise that are kind of being held up and are tied up in this one glacier and the nearby glaciers. So, if it all decided to melt really quickly, then we could be looking at a couple feet of sea level rise worldwide. In our lifetimes, perhaps even.
Jeez Louise. And to your point of things happening so quickly right now with climate and in the future, and I hate to keep bringing my newborn daughter in this.
No.
Shout out to my newborn daughter. But it's in her lifetime, this will almost definitely be a huge issue. But possibly in mine if I stop drinking.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Not gonna happen. What else we got? What's next for us? Measles.
Yeah.
Measles is making a comeback. This is the reason we're all going to die. Number 3. Measles is making a comeback because of anti-vaxxers.
Yeah, that really upsets me, I have to say.
I would think this as both a scientist and a nice guy who doesn't like to see human suffering.
Yeah, right. I mean, people have all these misconceptions about the vaccines that they cause autism. They don't.
Nope.
We don't know what causes autism, but we're pretty sure it's not vaccines. And the things that we've made vaccines for are really, really bad.
Yeah.
You don't want to get the measles.
You don't want whooping cough. These are bad things. Polio,
smallpox. I mean, these are really, really awful diseases, and they were almost wiped out until
suckers.
Yeah.
Towards that end, we take my daughter and every morning we dump her in a bucket of vaccines.
Wow.
Yeah, then she just poos everywhere and we set the day.
She's going to have quite the life.
Yes, she is. We're off to a roaring start.
So Andy, I read a headline this week too. Reasons we're all doomed.
Yeah.
And
it's number 4 we're on.
It's
we're
number 4.
Uh-huh.
It's number 4. It's sort of a retrospective one because it's actually the reason that Native Americans were doomed.
Oh.
It turns out that scientists recently found a connection between the Little Ice Age, which was a period where the Earth cooled down for a couple hundred years, starting about 15 or 1600, which coincides with the time that Native Americans in the United States were almost completely wiped out by the arrival of Europeans. Mostly by disease, in fact. So
because they weren't vaccinated.
They weren't vaccinated, that's exactly right. So 90% of the population of the Americas disappeared in 100 years. So there used to be 60 million people here, which I didn't know.
I did not know that.
All right, it was a lot. And they were farming and making use of the land, and when they disappeared, all that land started to grow trees and grass again, and it sucked enough carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere to cause the entire planet to cool off, just a tiny bit, but to cool off by a little bit for a couple hundred years.
And that affected people's lives all across the globe.
Exactly. So actually human beings have been affecting the climate for half a millennium now.
Wow. Two things about that blow my mind. One is the fact that effect was seen that early in human civilization. Sometimes 60 million people in the Americas.
I really had no idea. You know, you see all the cowboys and Indians movies, you know, and it's just a small cluster of teepees and 30 or 40 people. But no, there were 60 million people in the Americas in 1500 when Columbus landed about.
Josh, part of the fun of this show for me is talking to someone who is so knowledgeable about as yourself and finding places where our ignorance overlaps.
I know.
That's exciting.
Like, wow.
Because my ignorance is vast, but we still have to find some places where we meet.
But you know, Andy, there's a silver lining, right?
Oh boy, what a good point, buddy. What a good point.
Yeah. There are some things that aren't terrible. Right.
You know, and that's important to remember as we face the despair that we're so focused on this show, that along the way to apocalypse and doom, some good things could happen.
Yeah, it's sort of amazing. There's a couple we've been paying attention to, right?
It gives me a feeling of climate FOMO.
Yes.
I'm old, so I just learned what FOMO means a few days ago. Fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out.
Yeah. Right. So there's a number of things that are happening climate-wise and otherwise that are good news that we're going to talk about right after this message from yet another sponsor. We must be rolling in money.
Yeah.
Children. They're the reason we do it all, right? So when people say they're concerned that fracking endangers their food and water, we say, that's the wrong attitude. The fact is, we don't know the effects of fracking on your food and water. So it might be, just might be, the kind of pollution that gives people superpowers.
Really? Really?
I'm listening.
Fact. Spider-Man was just a man until he was bitten by a polluted spider. Fact. Bruce Banner was just a man until he was polluted by radiation. Fact. Hawkeye was never polluted at all, and Hawkeye sucks.
Yeah, a rare Marvel misstep. Agreed. I want more legs.
Well, you're not going to get them by wishing?
I love X-ray vision.
Eat more peas. Eating food tainted by fracking. It's literally the only way eating kale will make you grow wings.
Hey, I've got this rash that won't go away.
You're welcome. So FOMO.
So I got FOMO this week when I found out that the seed vault. Did you know?
The seed vault. There's a vault that holds the seeds.
Yes. It's in Svalbard, Norway.
That's made up.
I've been to Svalbard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We flew there a couple years ago for the Greenland thing.
You do all the cool stuff.
I know, it was fun. So they have this little hut sticking out of the side of a mountain that goes down into the earth, way down into the seed vault. They have a giant room down there, and they store seeds from all over the world. So all the important crops that we have in case there's like a global disaster, there's seeds for all those important crops. And I just found out that some of the seeds that they keep are for all kinds of marijuana plants from all over the world.
What?
Yes. So they're storing some insert your favorite
some nice sativas, some nice indicas.
Oh, sorry.
I'll help you out.
I didn't do all my
on
homework this week.
Oh, I've been doing it for years. Yeah. So they're saving all these weed along with maize, soybeans,
corn. Yes, all this stuff. There's like 40,000 different seeds down in the seed vault, but some of the most important.
Well, that's fascinating. So like. There must be some agreement that these seeds are valuable, that marijuana will have some place in the post-apocalypse.
Apparently, it's fascinating because it's actually illegal in Svalbard. So you can't smoke in Svalbard, but there are
but they got the seeds. Yes. Well, I think it's important that after the apocalypse, we're going to need some cool heads. You don't want to freak out all the time.
That's right.
The S is going down.
You need to chill out after the apocalypse.
That's a good plan, Svalbard, which that sounds made up. I'm not quite buying it. Another exciting bit of FOMO, another exciting thing that's happening not here is in Germany.
Yeah?
They're phasing out coal in Germany.
I heard about this. That's right. Yes. Thank you, Germany.
Germans, you almost destroyed the world twice, but you're coming back in a big way.
Right,
Thank
2038.
you. 2038, they want to eliminate all coal plants.
Yeah, we might live that long, Andy.
If they eliminate enough coal plants.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's really wild. I mean, that is a huge undertaking for a country that was largely powered by coal, like so many of us.
Yeah. It's a huge thing when any country tries to shift completely away from a major fuel source.
We lost internet.
Oh dear.
Uh-oh. Internet down.
Let's just continue. Oh, now we're back on.
Oh,
I think.
we think we were gone for a minute, and now we're back.
Technical discoveries. Sorry, guys, we're learning how to do this as we go.
Yes.
We're building this machine as we fly.
We're trying to make the magic happen. But we were just talking about Germany trying to get off of coal. So
Exciting.
by 2038, there will apparently be no functioning coal plants in Germany anymore.
Das ist schön, Germany. I hoist a mug of
Yes.
not ale to you.
Yes, cheers to that.
Yeah, Germans really coming back as a group of people. Well done. So another very exciting thing about that's happening right now, Davos, this big meeting of Richie Riches that happens every year, where rich people get together and pretend they care about poor people for a little while.
Oh, so nice of them.
Yeah, so big of you guys. But this is an exciting thing that's being discussed there that should be discussed more widely, is moving to a four-day work week.
Wow.
That's
wow.
good.
I could use another day of weekend.
Heck yeah, I love to party.
Yeah, right?
And it's also, I think interesting because as robotics and all these things develop, there should be, theoretically, with all this work being done by non-humans, more time for us not to do work.
Yeah, right. I mean, especially as the robots get more intelligent, right?
Smarter than we are.
Yes,
Yeah.
pretty
Well,
soon.
we should be laying around on the beach.
Yeah.
But so things like universal basic income, a four-day work week, really starting to turn back to what humanity is here to do rather than just make money. That's very exciting. It's very exciting. That would be, I suppose, imposed on all these riches at Davos who probably didn't want to hear about that.
Yeah. I mean, that's, wow.
They probably like people working 5 or more days a week.
I mean, because, they can be richer that way.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Now here's for our next FOMO. This is sort of an inverse FOMO.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch it up on you. This is a trick play.
Rule of threes, Andy. Come on.
I'm just doing what here? so this is Shell. Shell Oil is starting to move to electric charging stations at their gas stations.
Wow, that's so awesome.
Isn't that big of them to offer some choices for electric car drivers at their fossil fuel facilities?
Definitely. That's kind of cool.
That is kind of cool.
Right.
I also want to push back because this is being greeted as such a good news story.
Yeah.
I want to push back to something that was said at Davos this year, which is that, for instance, we rely on billionaires and these big companies to be philanthropists rather than just taxing them. And taxation is the way that we can actually spread income around. Similarly, with a problem like climate change, we can wait for these companies to find the goodness of their heart to build some charging stations while the world burns, or we can make them do it.
I mean, that's right. You can't cure global warming by just driving a Prius, much as we would all like to think we can. You actually have to have government policies that push the entire economy away from fossil fuels and toward renewable fuels. And without it, we're not going to succeed. So you absolutely have to have reasonable policies, and taxing is one way to do it. Ending subsidies is another way to do it. Of course, a lot of these companies get huge amounts of money just directly from the government to develop and so forth. So, put the subsidies where you want the resources to grow, like in renewables. That'd be really nice.
Well, that's so interesting, and it opens up, I think that's going to be an entire episode at some point, is talking about some of the carbon tax, some of these other solutions that are out there of varying different degrees of merit and functionality. But we'll be talking about all that stuff as we go. That's a great point. One more FOMO item that I want to discuss, because we've been really harsh on robots today.
I know, it's been a tough day for the non-sentient.
Big words. That's why we love them. But so these particularly these robots coming alive, the Terminator thing. There's a lot of threats that are posed by intelligent robots, but they're also very cool.
They are super cool.
There's some new ones being developed that are prosthetics, and this is sort of an interesting bit of technology where we're combining robotics with actual humans to make the humans' lives better, and I think that's a really cool thing.
Like Darth Vader?
like Darth Vader.
Wow.
Wow, you blew my mind.
Dang.
You blew my mind. It's total Darth Vader. But you can look at this, like, that is badass.
That is really cool, man.
And it reminds us that
I
while
want to
this
shoot a bow.
Yeah, well, this technology is really is problematic and potentially dangerous. It also has really great potential for humans. This is a nice reminder.
Well, yeah, we kind of need to steer the ship of technology and development towards solving this problem, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's a gigantic worldwide problem, and one that requires worldwide solutions. And if you look back in history, actually, there are times when we spent this amount of national resources on something. You know what it was?
Josh just blew my mind with the segue, by the way. Well done. Please continue. Please continue.
It was war.
It was war.
Right?
That's right.
I mean, if you look at global, if you look at spending as a fraction of GDP, gross domestic product, how much economic activity there is in the United States, there's two big spikes in our history. Guess what those were?
When we bought flowers for everybody?
Nope, World War I and II.
That's where we spent the money.
That's where we really spent the money. So, some people say that we need a World War II scale effort to address global warming, and that's really what it's going to take.
What a good point. And, it kind of comes back to that thing that Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez said recently. Love her. Yeah. About the Green New Deal is that we always have money for wars. Right. It's never how do we pay for this with wars. It only happens when it's stuff for people.
Right. And in a way where this is the war on ourselves, right? I mean, we're like waging war against our home planet. In a way, with the changes we're making to the climate. So why not a war scale effort to address and fight the war so that the climate wins?
Boy, that's a good point. Joshua, I think that's going to bring us pretty close to the end of our show here. I think we want everyone to like our Facebook page, Hotpocalypse.
Please. Yeah.
Thanks very much to Being Liberal. Thanks very much to everybody for watching. Love you, buddy.
Thanks, Betty.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Ice. Can't drink ice. It's solid.